if you want to accept the fullness of God, you also have to accept the fact that God is unjust. Initiate.me. What you find in these great artists is that they also carve out their evil characters. I mean, Satan is carved, he is painted almost as often as Jesus. Mm-hmm. Or in a lot of the paintings, wherever you see Jesus painted, you often see Satan painted. And in our modern Protestant churches, we have this deep aversion to painting villainous gods. Even if you painted Jesus, like, why wouldn't you? What is stopping you from painting Azazel or Baal or Dagon or Molech or all these different gods that were worshipped? And it wasn't until I read Paradise Lost. That's my shoulder. I'd like you to pat it. After reading Paradise Lost, one of the things I loved about it was that he went so deep into all of the villainous gods of the Bible in a way that no preachers ever preached. They always seem to gloss over villainous gods. They always seem to gloss over Satan. And then I've been reading Job. 2 books, 2 commentaries on Job specifically. The first is The Answer to Job by Carl Jung, which is the only book he wrote that he said, I have nothing I would change in this book. All of the other books he said I would change something, but The Answer to Job, he said I would change nothing. Okay. That says a lot about the book. Mm-hmm. And then there's a Jungian commentator named Edward Edinger, and he wrote the book of Job as analogous to the self, where he takes William Blake's book of Job that William Blake drew and wrote out, his carvings, his paintings, and he goes through it and he tackles it from a Jungian analysis of each painting. Okay. What is the individuation of the self? How does that play out through the book of Job? The thing that both Jung and Blake, and Jung really ganked a lot of this from Blake too, because remember, Blake is 50 years before Jung. And Blake's doing all these drawings about, like, if you want to accept the fullness of God, you also have to accept the fact that God is unjust in the book of Job. Because why would God... Do you know the beginning of Job? Do you know how it starts?
Yeah. The devil makes a bet with him that his follower Job is only his devout follower because he seems to be getting his way.
But God is the one who walks up to Satan and says, hey, Satan, have you seen my servant Job?
Oh.
Yeah, God started
it?
Starts the whole thing. Says, hey, Satan, where have you been? He's like, I've been wandering to and fro throughout the earth. And then God says, yeah, but have you seen Job? And Satan's like, yeah, I've seen Job. Job's awesome. And he's like, I know Job's awesome. Well, he's only awesome because, you give him all this great stuff. And God's like, well, I think he'd like me even if it never didn't have the good stuff. So Satan takes away the good stuff, but God says you can't touch his body, right? Then he takes away his body, for the most part, gives all his boils and ashes. And all of this stuff ends with Job getting twice as much. And the magic of it in Blake's eyes and in Jung's eyes is that Job doesn't defend himself. He doesn't cave in to saying sorry when he knows that he's justified in his actions, and he knows that God is being a jerk in many ways. Mm-hmm. He doesn't repent for something he ought not to repent for because he hasn't done anything wrong.
How does it end exactly?
It ends with God revealing himself to Job and showing Job just how grandiose, how powerful God is, how big he is. Job basically standing toe to toe with God and saying, you are greater than I am. But even so, I will not repent for crimes that I haven't committed. Because for probably 30 chapters of the book, it's his friends trying to get him to repent for crimes he hasn't committed. And they're saying, no, God wouldn't do this to you unjustly. God wouldn't do this to you randomly. It's because you're prideful in your heart. It's because you've committed these errors. It's because you've sinned. Job, you need to repent. And Job's like, I am not repenting. I have done nothing wrong. And so he stands fast and he's true to himself. He's true to his character. And then God shows up and says, I am basically a terrifying being. And Job's like, yeah, you are, but I'm still not going to repent. And so God blesses them and gives them double everything that he had. Point with all this is that Bleak paints Satan all the time.
Okay.
Why wouldn't we make paintings of Medusa?
Yeah.
Put them into our pantheon, into our personal mythology.